Hello and welcome back, and today we're going to be working on hang on a sec. We have a breaking news story coming in. Yep. Thank you. This is highly unprecedented. All right, here we go. Let's see here. A 1,000 horsepower Thunderbolt. It's September 1935. Now, this doesn't sound right. Hang on a sec. I think we're gonna need a little bit of this guy right here. Get that going on. And we can put on a little bit of this. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, here we go. 1,000 horsepower Thunderbolt. It's September 1935. Propellers turn and the pilot gets into the cockpit of a yet untested plane. As ship is lifted from the runway and wings into the air, wraps are coming off what has been called the mystery plane. And then the mystery unfolds as its owner, backer, builder, and pilot Howard Hughes brings the plane in from its test flight for a landing at the dangerous speed of 75 miles an hour. It's only 1935, yet millionaire sportsman Howard Hughes has flown over 300 miles an hour. This is an awesome microphone. Oh, that was so silly. Today we're working on this Astatic D-104. Let's get started. It is a hilarious twist of fate that the day that we're talking about microphones and audio quality is the day that my throat feels a little scratchy. So if I sound a little more baritone than normal, it's not because recording setups have changed, it's because biology has changed. The human body is weird, man. Who knows what's going on inside of here? But if everything went smoothly today, then you will have seen in that opening section me talking into this D-104 mic made by Astatic. And I hope it sounded awesome because I have no idea how today is going to turn out. I have no idea if this microphone is good or bad. I picked it up a couple of years ago and in this state with no other information. It's just been kind of hanging out in the background and people leave comments on it on the occasion. And I think it's time to finally dig into this microphone and see if we can get it doing microphone things. Now, the Astatic D-104 hails, I think, from the 1930s, but in the base of this one is actually a 2-transistor amplifier, which I think places it in like the mid-1950s or something. I think they made this particular D-104 microphone for like decades. But if you do a little bit of hunting around on the internet, you can find some schematics of what's going on inside the base of this thing. And they're kind of difficult to read and understand, so I redrew them as best as I could in KiCad here. And if we look at it, you can see that the condenser microphone on the top here is capacitively coupled to what looks like an emitter-follower buffer. And then this is capacitively coupled to a standard inverting amplifier, which then goes out into an interesting toggle switch mechanism, which is going to be this switch here on the side. When you push this in, it actually makes the connection for the 9-volt battery that is internal to this to power up the amplifier and then send out the amplified voice via the 4-pin XLR connector here on the back. Now, there's a couple of problems with this. It means that there's a 9-volt battery in there, and I'm not expecting that to look all that great. There's also a gain control, which we can see on the bottom here. So you can actually control the volume that's being output by that amplifier with this potentiometer on the bottom here. But the biggest problem is that this XLR connector is, I'm not an audio guy. I don't have any of this stuff. Everything that I record with goes through a little headphone jack like this. So I think what we're gonna do today, now that we kind of know how it's wired up, is we're gonna take this apart, clean it up, figure out how to rewire it so that it's now 2-pin and mono and going through one of these cables so I can plug it into my voice recorder or plug it into my laptop, adjust the gain just right, and start recording stuff with this. I am going to keep the XLR plug. I'm not going to butcher it. I'm just going to desolder it from the inside and solder this other stuff on. So if we ever want to revert, or if we decide that the audio quality is too terrible through this, we can go back to the XLR connector here. So that's the game plan. Let's start taking this thing apart and see if we can figure out what's going on. We'll just undo the head real quick by undoing the twist lock, and then it pulls right off. And then here on the bottom, it looks like there's just 3 little screws holding this bottom plate on, which should give us access to the 9-volt battery and the amplifier within. And with that 3rd screw removed, looks like it came loose already. Oh, that's gross. Oh, that 9-volt battery has rusted explosively. That's not great. But we can see that our volume control is right here. That's our potentiometer. We have our amplifier board right over here. It looks very simple. There's our terminal block, and the push switch is going to be kind of up in the base because that's where a bunch of wires seem to be going. So I think if we just very carefully desolder the XLR plug here and solder a new plug into the correct blocks on the terminal block here, and then clean up and replace this atrocious 9-volt battery, we might just straight be in business. Unfortunately, this little sticker of the schematic is not savable. This schematic is available online, but I also took a nice high-resolution picture of it. But once the sticker is out of the way, let's grab a wire brush here and see if we can get most of this rust off. It's pretty stubborn, and ultimately I took it to the wire wheel on the bench grinder. Next, let's get this horrendous battery out. Using a little pry tool, I'll try to disconnect the connector, and it did come off, but it took bits of the battery with it. To get the battery fully out, I gotta really pry on it to break it loose from the rust on the clip. And look at the rusty remains. That's hilariously bad. This poor ever-ready battery looks rough. You can see that one of the top terminals broke completely off when removing the plug. I don't know if this battery clip is going to be savable. I'm going to hit it with the wire brush for a few minutes, but yeah, it's just too far gone and needs to be replaced. Which means I need to get this whole piece out, and that means I gotta remove the XLR cable completely because it comes through the base plate and holds everything in place. After removing the 2 screws that hold the plate down, I'll desolder the power connector and then desolder all 4 wires coming from the XLR connector. Between the schematics online and the one I remade, we should be able to get everything wired up correctly again. With the cable out of the way, you are not getting hypnotized by the rocking bass. You are not getting hypnotized by the rocking bass. Whew. All right, we're free from the trance. Looks like this battery clip is riveted in place. We're going to have to drill this out, and after fighting through the rust, look at this nightmare of a rusty clip. We definitely need to replace this. Before we start replacing parts though, let's double check the toggle switch. And yeah, that's not great. It's looking like we've got some nasty contacts on the switch, which means we gotta get this thing even further apart. This little clip that holds the handle permanently on just slides straight up and off. Then there are 2 screws on the bottom of the handle holding it in place. With those removed, the handle has this little hook on it that will catch you if you're not paying attention, but it lifts out easy enough. After that, there are 4 more screws on the stand here. 1 on the bottom to hold the chrome piece, 1 on the top to hold the connector, and 2 in the middle to hold the toggle switch. With all 4 removed, the chrome piece can slide straight up, revealing the toggle switch that's hidden on the inside. Now, a good friend of mine, John, gave me a ring after the episode of me taking sandpaper to the contacts on the Bendix G15 typewriter, and he very graciously mailed down this proper relay adjustment and cleaning kit. While this isn't exactly a relay, the contacts are essentially the same, so it's a perfect opportunity to get familiar with the kit before we take it to the G15. The big ticket item here is the contact burnisher. It's not nearly as violent as the sandpaper that I was using, but it also properly cleans the contacts, so we'll get good connections here. I just press the contacts together with the burnisher in the middle and work it back and forth until it looks like everything is working as intended. Before we slide the whole thing back together, let's clean up the chrome tube. I like to use a little bit of steel wool for this kind of chromed metal. It seems super simple, but look at the difference here after just 30 seconds of scrubbing. After getting the chrome back to a full mirror shine, let's slip the tube back into place over the toggle switch and connector. Getting the screw holes aligned was a little tricky, but honestly, not bad. Next, I'll give the push button handle a scrub with steel wool as well, and in less than 2 minutes, it was looking brand new again too. It just pops right in place and is super easy to get aligned. And then holding the bottom in place with my thumb, I'll give it a few test presses, and yeah, that feels good. Once I've got everything all reattached, let's check the resistance once more just to be sure. And yep, that's looking properly excellent. 0.1 ohms is good enough for me. Next, let's get a new battery clip in place. I don't have rivets small enough to secure the new one, so instead I'm going to hold it in place with some solid core wire. I've used this method before on different projects, and I've had excellent success with it. I just thread it through, pulling it tight with some pliers, then I finally twist the two ends together nice and tight. It's not as rock solid as rivets, but in this situation, it should work totally fine. With the clip in place, let's get the new battery cable connected up. But next, we're going to venture into the land of the unknown by soldering up the new audio cable. I'm changing from the 4 wires of the XLR to a simple 2-wire setup. In order to do this, I'm going to solder the shielded ground direct to the ground lug, and then the mono audio wire I'll solder direct to pin 1 on our toggle switch. This eliminates the whole ER switch thing, but I had no idea what that did anyways, so what I don't know can't hurt me, right? Alright, with everything wired back up, let's plug a new 9-volt battery in. No smoke initially, that's a good sign. So let's get the bottom cover on next, and that buttons up the base of the mic. Next, let's take care of the top piece. There are 4 screws with studs that go through front to back, and with those removed, the front grille comes right off, revealing the condenser mic underneath. Then we can lift that up and pull out the back plate, and the foam on that back plate has just completely disintegrated. This is going to cause more problems than it solves, so let's just get rid of it. And you can see how easily it just falls off. The main reason for taking this apart though was so I could polish up the chrome. The microphone itself is most likely totally fine. And check out the difference between the left side and right side here. This really shows how just a few minutes with steel wool can completely transform chrome pieces like this. The whole thing is becoming so reflective it's actually getting kind of hard to film. Finally, let's get some new foam on the back piece. This foam was a little thick, but it compressed well enough once everything was bolted back together and cinched down. Then all that's left is to pop the top back on, and dang, that came out looking absolutely stunning. It looks practically brand new, which is wild considering that it's probably around 70 years old. It absolutely looks the part, but the question is, does it still do microphone things? I could have very easily got something wired up incorrectly, but whatever this thing is pumping out, if it does work, it's gonna be very, very hot. So I don't wanna risk whatever I plug it into without knowing what the amplitude of the signal coming out of it is. So we've got the scope hooked up right here, and hopefully we'll be able to see something moving around on the scope here as I talk. So I just need to pull this little lever here, and oh yeah, look at that. You can see my voice. That's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Yes. Oh, it works. At least it works. Well, the microphone works. That's fantastic news. Now, if I were a ham radio enthusiast, I think I would have this plugged into a tower of vacuum tube audio gear, but that doesn't particularly help me in digitizing the audio signal coming out of this so I can lay it down and you guys can hear it on this YouTube video. Now, normally I record all of my audio using a little Sony lav mic and a Zoom F2 recorder, which is currently in my pocket. But this is a powered microphone. There's a 9-volt battery in there cranking out quite a lot of juice, and I'm not sure the Zoom F2 can handle that. So I'm gonna use this Tascam recorder right here because it has a microphone in and it has a line in. And I think the line in is expecting powered audio to come in at quite a high volume. So I think using the line in, we can digitize the audio coming out of this. But in order to get a proper comparison, I have another microphone here. This is a realistic highball to omnidirectional. This was actually my grandfather's. He used to record his guitar jam sessions using this way back in the 1970s. So we're going to read a little bit here. We're going to do half of this with this realistic microphone, and then halfway through we'll switch over to the Astatic microphone, and hopefully that'll give us a good A-B comparison so we can see just how different the Astatic sounds. Or maybe it sounds identical. I have no idea, so let's give it a shot.
Oye, Beltaloda, listen up. This is your captain, and this
is your ship. This is your moment.
you may think that you are afraid, but you are not.
That isn't fear. That is your sharpness. That's your power.
We are Belters. Nothing in the void is foreign to us.
The place we go is the place we belong.
This is no different. No one has more right to this.
None more prepared. India Loda go through the ring, call it their own. But a Belter opened it. We are the belt. We are strong. We are sharp, and we don't feel fear.
This moment belongs to us.
For Belter Loda!
Well, that was incredibly silly, and if you don't know where that was from, that's drummer's speech as they're about to enter the ring in The Expanse. And if you haven't watched The Expanse, go watch it. It's my all-time favorite TV show. It's just the best bit of sci-fi television ever made. But also, I think that was kind of a fun comparison between the Astatic D-104 here and this realistic Highball 2. Now, it was also an unfair comparison because this Highball 2 paired with this Tascam recorder has yielded some of the highest fidelity audio I've ever recorded. Today it didn't sound that great because I was yelling the Beltalowda speech, and also my voice is a little scratchy and a little lower than normal, but I've done recordings with this thing before and it just is stunning. Way better than the lav mic and the Zoom recorder that I'm using. However, it's not... I'm very animated, so the lav mic is kind of a necessity. But this D-104 mic is really interesting. You can hear that as I'm doing this closing, talking into it, most of the bass sounds are completely cut out. That lower frequency is totally gone, and that's kind of by design. But since I'm my throat's feeling a little scratchy today and kind of worn out, I'm very baritone, so my voice is coming through very strangely on this thing. But as somebody who spends every day with cameras and microphones, this was a really fun journey into vintage microphones, a place that I've never been before. And this Astatic D-104 came out looking absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm not going to use this every day because I don't think the fidelity is there. Also, it's a bit unwieldy, but I am really glad that I took the time to restore this because it was just a lot of fun. I had fun today. This was a fun little video. So I want to thank you all so much for watching and hanging out with me while I do my worst reenactment of a speech from The Expanse. And I hope to see you in the next episode.